Welcome to the Worldwide Podcast. I'm Miles Irving, and just back from rather a long Christmas break from doing the podcast. But we've got a really good one for you. It's put together with a few different conversations with my chef friend Cesar Costa, and you'll notice the first one kind of puts the timeline a little bit way back. It's recorded in 2018 when I was across in Sao Paulo, at which time Cesar's restaurant had only been open for a few months, and then we've had a couple of conversations since then, and so it's just kind of a bit of a medley. But Cesar's a really important chef in the world today, and I think you'll be hearing a lot more about him because he's taken an approach to food which is very, very holistic, and he's really blazing a trail in Sao Paulo in terms of operating on the basis of principles of sustainability. He's right there in the forefront in terms of his processing of waste and reducing waste, and also of setting up supply chains with ingredients that before he was using them were just not being used in the restaurants there. So, there's a lot of very gloomy thoughts to have about the state of the world, and in particular of Brazil, with the current president supporting the destruction of indigenous lands and the sort of forward march of industrial agriculture there in Brazil. But it's kind of all the more heartening to know that there are also little lights beginning to shine that were not previously shining. And Cesar makes a comment about it all being about the stars in the course of our conversation, which he doesn't actually explain. It comes across as slightly obscure, but it's still very, very, very heartfelt. So I'll perhaps follow on from that remark I just made about lights beginning to shine. And of course, the thing about lights shining in the sense of stars is that they are shining in the context of a dark backdrop. You can't see the stars during the day when the sun is shining. So maybe there's something to be said there that the context that we're in, I think since we are now in many countries in the world facing sort of right-wing populist governments which don't look like they're exactly poised to grapple the urgent issue of climate change or any other urgent issue, but promoting a renewed enthusiasm for business as usual, unfortunately. So it's a very dark context we find ourselves in. But, if you listen to the podcast regularly, you'll know that I'm at base really an optimist. And part of the reason for that is I do believe that life in all its power of integration, all of its sort of ability to adapt and change, and all of it being made from many, many diverse things, all of which can sort of suddenly pop up out of nowhere and bring something life-giving. So I kind of have this confidence that in this period of time, which does feel like a very dark one, it is possible for each one of us to be one of those many things that pop up with a light shining. So it's not, to sort of try and put Cesar on a pedestal or anybody else on a pedestal, but I think it's about all of us being that light that shines. And at this point, I just find myself, before Christmas was thinking, the metaphor that sprung to mind was just, gathering around the fire in the homestead and working with whatever plants it is you brought home, and the kind of maybe the winter crafts. So, I've got friends that do a lot of weaving and dyeing and things like that, and they spend the winter months in a warm place doing that kind of thing. And I just think that as a metaphor, in fact, weaving is a great metaphor for that we just turn our eyes kind of back in, not in a sense of being insular and running away, but like the only way that this kind of life-giving stuff is going to have the ascendancy, as if we we're fully alive ourselves. In other words, if we're nurturing the bonds and connections in our personal sphere, that's how we're going to enter into really just the power of life to come back again. And of course, in the middle of winter, that's an interesting thought to have. Certainly in in our country where all of the leaves have fallen from the trees many months ago, and it's now the hedgerows look like skeletons. Look like they have no life at all, and many of the trees, they look like skeletons. And yet we know that the life is there inside, and at a certain point, not too far from now, those seemingly dead things are going to bring forth and bud. So the only way to ensure that happens is that the hedges and the trees keep their roots in the ground and wait for spring to come. So that kind of idea of hunkering down, putting our roots in the grounds around cozy firesides and being with people and so on, that's just what keeps coming back to me, that unless we are nurturing and nurtured, we can't be an answer for everything that we're seeing as being so dark at the moment. So I think with that, I'll conclude, and we'll now proceed to the conversation with Cesar.
The name of the restaurant is Corrutela. Corrutela has the ancient word from Corruptela, which in Portuguese is the same primitive word of corruption. I felt like I want to break down, I want to corrupt this food system that we live in it.
Let's go. Let's get to work. Yeah.
We've been this week out to see one of your farms, haven't we? That sends a lot of vegetables in, and it was amazing, wasn't it, to see all the different what you would call panks here, but for me they're like
The
wild plants and ones that are growing there in amongst the stuff they're cultivating. That they're just incredible flavors and textures. Wild plants which currently are not being used at all by restaurants in Sao Paulo. So that's maybe another thread to the
Yes, they had no idea that those things could be eaten.
yeah,
They was just taken out of the land to grow like carrots and radishes.
pulling them out and throwing them away.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're going to pull them out and sell them to you.
Yes, that's amazing. And yesterday we just changed the green salad in the restaurant. It was lettuces and it was right in the middle, just like green leaves. And I keep the word green leaves, but just put 5 different kinds of wild food. And we sold like 20 salads yesterday. And we were not saying that were wild. Because if we put like so many different names, people would be like, whoa, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, they might not choose
I don't know
it.
if I want to pay
So
for something that I had no idea was that. So everybody eats, and after they had finished their meal, we were like, okay, so this was this. Like, oh.
So you didn't give them any reason to not choose it because you just get the description the same. But
yeah,
but
because
then
it's so popular here to just put like green leaf salad.
yeah.
And I say, okay, if they put this green leaf salad, it's green leaves.
Yeah. But everyone was happy with their choice that they didn't know they were making.
Everybody. I mean, even the chefs, they were like, are you sure you're going to do this?
It's very bold, yeah, very bold.
Are you sure you're Cesar?
I was nervous for you.
Should we keep...
To be honest, I was going to say, put a bit of
service-
lettuce and a bit of wild ones just in case they don't like it.
For
Yeah.
the service, I was like, Cesar, sure? Can we send just like this? And I was like, yeah, do it. And it was amazing.
That's
you know?
great.
It was super positive.
That is great. Yeah, I nearly suggested that you... Okay.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you did that.
I have to say that I almost was thinking like, okay, I would just put like 2 leaves of lettuce and
As
stick
well,
in
yeah.
the wild ones under. And I said, no, wild all the way. And you know, we chefs, we always say here that in the summer we have no greens, but when they say there is no greens, we're talking about lettuces and maybe,
I know.
kale and those things, but I'm sure there is wild greens in the summer.
Yes.
Because they are from here.
Yeah. So what are the months of the summer?
It starts in November,
Yeah.
end of November, and rains a lot and it's so hot. So it's really bad for plants that comes from other countries, like lettuce,
Yeah.
like kale. But now I really believe I will have a lot of greens in the summer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's what we find. Funnily enough, in the winter, there's very little in England that's being sent in by the farms, but all of our really hardy, tough ones that have evolved to go through the winter.
Yeah.
we can pick them, and suddenly, you know, we have salad when the other suppliers have nothing to offer. So yeah. Okay, well, it's still very, very young. Your restaurant has been open for 5 months.
Yeah.
So it's very early time, and
I'm still with 27 years old.
And you're very young. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And everyone that works for you is very young.
Everybody really young, and we have a lot of energy to give, and it's just the start, I think.
Yes. Well, I really look forward to seeing how this tiny, beautiful plant grows up and becomes a mighty tree, and
have some seeds and
yes, and deep roots. Yes.
Deep roots.
Wow.
And you know, really grateful for the experience that I have at Forager. It was essential to create the way that I think today about the business, the environment, the way that I see the things connected. So it's not about just picking and biology. It's about the way you see things.
Well, I see like you're serving up a recipe in this restaurant, and it's not just the recipe of ingredients on a plate and the flavors and textures, even though you do that really, really well, but it's a recipe of all of the different things that contribute to the food system around here.
Yeah.
And you're presenting a really nice plate full of, you know, care for the people that work with you, concern for the ecology, concern for the farmers, and concern for people's health with serving up healthy, good food. It's a really good recipe, and it's a really good plate.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad to come and eat with you.
It's a big pleasure.
It needs to be good for your body, you know. I don't feel it makes sense anymore to cook food that you don't have like nutritious, food that you don't know what's behind, food that you don't know if there's like poison or chemicals on that. So, you know, I think people are tired to be eating in a restaurant, and they go out, they feel like pain in the stomach, they feel heart burning, they feel like strange things in their body, and they think it's in their own body, you know. But I'm sorry to say, but there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you can eat everything you want, but you're just eating the wrong thing. Yeah. People forget about the healing, you know. I saw something so interesting those days that basically if we dry out our brain, like a lot of water, what's going to be missing? Like we're going to have like carbo, amino acids, vitamins, you know. So pretty much everything that we eat is what is like nurturing our brain. And people are just like giving bad food for the brain somehow, bad food for the stomach, bad food for everything, you know. And this is all connected, I think. How can you know, develop some good sense of wisdom or connect with like on your spiritual side if you're not feeding your main thing well? So I think things are gonna change soon. We're tired to hear stories about people who go to the best restaurants in the world, and like they have to go to the hospital like 2 days after because they had eaten so many like different things that's not good for your body, everything at the same time. And it's just about impress the others. You sit in here, I'm gonna impress you the more that I can, but when you live here, it's all right. For me, it's fine if the day after you feel bad or whatever, you know. So I'm really looking forward to this change, you know. Especially like you get big cities, delivery food is so on like the trendy today, like dark kitchens, people opening like restaurants just for delivery, and what there is nothing that I could trust, you know. I understand that it's not everybody that has time to cook a meal. Sometimes people just don't know, but even when you're selling food for takeaway and things like this, why are not people making good, health, honest food? Like, I think we're missing the basics somehow. A good example is like we have something similar here that it's like a sausage roll. Everybody eats, every like gas station and schools and everywhere. Doesn't exist one like Brazilian sausage roll that you could like, I trust everything here. We live in a time that you can trust the basic, whereas everywhere. It's a hard time for me, actually. I go to a supermarket, the only thing that I can buy is cleaning products. And I spend like 1 hour there. I could spend like 5 minutes to buy just cleaning products, but I spend an hour and like looking, and I think we're in a critical part of the world. We have so much CO2, we're breaking records. And who's gonna pay the price? I have the feeling that somehow we're about to collapse if we don't like change the basis, because that doesn't change the world if you're just cooking for fine dining, and I don't think fine dining is gonna save the world, but maybe this could influence the other layers of the food industry. So I think it's important to begin on us, but not just stay on us. It's about to share and teach the others that it's possible and it's a way. It doesn't matter if you're like making food for a gas station, or if you're making food on the road or some corner that just a bar or a pub. You can make small things, and doesn't matter who you are. A lot of those things is not about like financial, it's about on action. It's about choices. We're not talking about like, you need to put money here to have like this. No. We're just saying that you should buy something like this, and maybe you should do like this with your waste, and to show people that the wrong price is when you go to a regular supermarket and you see like a lettuce or like carrots for 20 cents of pounds, or I don't know the price in England, but this price is wrong. I'm sorry. It's not your products that is expensive. No, isn't. Is that thing that people are used that is super cheap is not supposed to be super cheap like this. I like to see people, go plant a carrot. 3 months, okay. And here in Brazil, they sell for 90 cents, which is about 15 pounds of cents. 15 cents of pounds. How are you going to feed your family selling carrots for, if you're not like a big farm? So I think there is a misunderstood between our evolution that, especially in this generation, they think like, I don't know how it's made, where it comes from, just okay, that's the price. They don't know the effort that needs to be done. It's a great time for me that I feel glad to have this in my mind.
Concerning the value of things, people have strange values, mixed up values.
Another interesting thing that I have now is like, I'm sorry, but I feel I won't make the food I won't change the food industry. Like there is no sense of attack the others, no attacking the others. We just need to show the consumer is backwards. The consumers needs to be. We need to talk with them and say what we think and show them a different perspective. As soon as they get this perspective, they will start to will come down to the top, not top to down. So I think that's why it's so important, the education part that you're doing. Basically, this thing will make people go to the restaurant and say like, hey, why you don't have this? Or hey, why not working with this? It's so good. The customers will make the chef think he's behind, and he'll be like, whoa, why am I not doing this? The people that's not chefs, they're not on the food industry, they like, asking me this? I know what's that, but I never felt like they need it. It's fine what I serve, you know? No, it's not fine. We need more. So I think it's backwards. We need to talk and teach people and talk the more that we can and say like, yeah, this is, instead of like attacking big industries and big supermarket chains, that's my position now. I figured it out that I won't change like the top industry, but I can talk for a few people every week, or I can go to a radio or a podcast or a television and try to say to, hey guys, here's the thing, I have one idea and starts with you, but it's about something that is so far from us. It's the big industries of food and the big restaurant chains. And it would be great if you guys know that this is super nice and blah, 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 blah. You develop the idea and you look at them and can you find this somewhere? They were like, no. And they're like, why they're not feeding us with this? Why? What's wrong? So teaching people, teaching the children's, teaching the more older people, because they're so sure that everything is so all right, but it's not. It's hard to change someone, especially in food, when they're like 35, 40 plus, 50. That's why it's so hard to me in the restaurant to have older employers, because they think like recycling here is like, it really doesn't matter. If it's okay, it's organic. But I need to have people in here in the restaurant that if they know that I changed something from our standards back, they will be like, hey, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So I think we should just spread the word and pretty much just like old times, just go and start to talk with the people and show your beliefs and instead of attacking, we just spread love, and they will feel that they have no love from the top industry, So we show that what is love. Love in these days is really clear for me that cooking is an act of love, so strong, so deep. We're putting something inside your body. Would you let me to do without love? Without love from the earth, without love from your physiologic body, without love for the nature? Would you? I don't think so, but I think as soon as we show them that they have no love from what they're like investing, they're investing money in something that there's no love from them. So where are you going to put your money? People forget that every time that you eating something, you just like donating money from someone somehow. You give it money. We do make charity for big industry that have worth nets of billions, that there is no empathy for you at all? Or you want to give money to someone that cares about you and wants to change and to make better things? I think it's a choice that is in the hand of the customer. Not in my hand. Or in my hand is just to show the way, just influence. But I think this is a way that we need to follow. When I say we, it's we humans. It's not Cesar. It's not other great chefs. I think everybody is invited. There is no, doesn't matter if you're left wing or right wing. We're not talking about politicians. Right? If I have to talk with the extremely right, I will say the same thing that I would say to the extremely left and to the center guys. because they're all humans, and our message is for humans. It's not about politician. It's much more important. Politician is something that came after, with eating so long before, of every connection of society. And I think the biggest joy of being a human being is that we can see so many colors. If you get a cat, a lion, they don't have the eyes to see. They have flat vision. So why we can watch and see 360 degrees and see many colors? Of course, we're the biggest thing about being a human is our capacity to see things and see if they're edible or not, if it's ripe or not. I feel like that's our biggest gift. We can see and understand. We're living here to really see what the world is. And we lost the main thing that makes us humans beings, which is walk, look, search, taste. And do you think we're made with this big gift just to eat 6 vegetables, 4 vegetables? I don't think so. But I changed a lot of my point of view. Keep changing. I think for all the other chefs, there is a point that you don't need you don't need to learn how to braise beef. You don't need to learn how to saute or some food techniques. You need to grow on other things of life, which will make you a better cook. You cannot be a better cook, a good cook, if you're not a good human. Good human first, then you become a good cook. Because a good cook is not just about you make a perfect braised short ribs. It's not about you just make the perfect, more smooth puree, or you just go and you forage something and you keep for yourself, and you're oh, I'm the only restaurant that have this ingredient, and the only place you can eat is here. No. The good cook is guys, there's something amazing here, and it's really good for everybody. And here is the thing: you buy from here, you support this guy, or otherwise it's just ego. Once people ask me Cesar, what do you think about making vegan dishes? And I found out that chefs don't make vegan dishes sometimes because of their ego, because they don't know if it's gonna be the right flavor, and in the end, people just want to eat, and you're gonna make him eat just fried potatoes all night long because you don't want to change cheese for avocado because you're not sure. Come on, I trust this ingredient, and this ingredient. They're gonna bind together super well. Just trust your feelings. You're not on TV competition all the time. Not everybody's a food blogger. Forget about your ego. Doesn't matter if you know it's not. If you're not 100% sure, but it's better to feed the people than to feed your ego, to be yes, I made the best dish of my life, and yeah, he took pictures, and yeah, he's gonna share for everybody. No, that's not the way. Just yeah, he had a great meal, he had what he wants, he left happy, and I hope he will come back. He's like this. Yeah, just make the good for people, and they will come back. Easy. When you feel loved in some place, you're gonna come back. Not going to a place where people don't care about you. So yeah. The sun rises for everybody. I learned. I have this on me. We have the same sun. Everybody has the same opportunities. Everybody's just humans. There's no star, just in the skies. Sorry to say that. No stars on the skies, and those are the stars that matters. The stars that balance your universe, and in the end, it's all about the stars. the real ones, not the others.
Oscar Wilde said, we're all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. When we say this, we don't want to say that what other people are doing are wrong. We just want to say that can be more complex and good for everybody. We don't want you people just change what they're doing. Actually, no. We just want them to do what they're doing, but with a better, with a more important connection to everything that's on besides the food. It's I think it's a time for change. It needs to be like soon, or who's gonna pay the price? The only thing that we can do is right now, because the future will be like the now and here from someone. What the now and but we just can change now. The future is now. Can wait to in the future things will be in the future things gonna be in the future I believe. No. The future will be your actions from now. The past you can change. So if you're doing bad things, or you feel like working with like not the way you want, okay, now is the time for you that you have to change. Just now. So it's just about start acting. Yeah. There's no excuse. And talk about this with the staff. Talk about with everybody that surrounds you, because one day they will leave your restaurant, one day they will get another jobs, and you want to make sure that doesn't matter where they go, they won't accept anything, but they will just only want things with love.
Yeah.
Love for the staff, for the environment, for the food, for their bodies, for their customers, and just accept people and show them the way. We need to show people that it's possible, that it's a possible way, and slowly we'll change.
Very good, Cesar.
Yeah, this is a bit of my way of thinking. Like, I feel good, makes me good, nourishes my heart, gives me joy of being working. I don't know how I could be happy with a regular restaurant serving just like any pasta with supermarket food and what I'm doing. Actually, not proper feeding anybody, not feeding any good food chain, and just feeding my pocket and my human wishes of like material things like cars, houses, and so what? You're gonna die, and who are you?
Well, I'm disappointed though that what you're describing should be normal. What you're describing with the way you're running your restaurant and how you relating to your customers, that should be normal, and it isn't. So, as you say, the whole marketing thing or PR thing has become so dominant, and what these restaurants and chefs and so on so often are doing is their craft is not to be a better human or even really to be a better chef. It's to seem to be. Yeah. So the big craft is to massage the public perception of what you do. Yeah. So you are developing your ability to seem, and it doesn't matter if what you seem to be is what you are or not. That's not important. The important thing is that you seem to be, because if you seem to be, then you'll get the recognition, you'll be voted this, you'll get the Michelin star, you'll have the great restaurant reviews, and then you've accomplished your goal. And that I find is very, very disappointing, because
the opportunity that everybody has when someone sits down at a table to eat a plate of food is to understand everything that is connected to everything on that plate, where it comes from, the ground it comes from, the community of living things it comes from, the people that brought it there, the people that gathered it or nurtured it, the traditions and the history and the culture of people that have worked with that ingredient and that species and have developed these recipes. And then the relation that it's going to have, as you say, when you put that in your body, the things that it's going to do to your body, which are good, because if the chef is doing his job, he will be, as you say, nourishing, and everything on that plate will be good and have a good consequence in the body. So the opportunity, it's like I feel like the chef has the ear of many people now, and they're expecting to hear something, from whether that's through words or through, the actual work of cooking and how food is changing. The chef speaks by using a particular ingredient. He's saying this is a good ingredient, or using a particular technique. He said this is a good. So whether they're listening through words or through what the chef is doing, that chef has the ear of people to learn what really matters, what is good, what's really important, and unfortunately, it's like somebody being given the microphone when they have nothing to say, because nothing's being said. Like when you sit down to eat, the frustration that we have is that if you buy our ingredients, you have the opportunity now to tell the story. And that's what we want. We'd rather give the ingredients away and have the story told, if we could, than sell the ingredients for more money, if we could. Because when people sit down and they chickweed, they can say, okay, I understand that if the chef explains to the waiter and the waiter explains to the customer, they say, here is a plant which grows by itself. Here is a plant that comes forth from the earth that will nourish you, that will feed you, and you didn't have to do anything to make this happen. So this is how the fabric of life is seeking to sustain you. In the waiter could be saying to any customer, in your garden there are plants growing in the grass, there are plants growing next to your vegetables, and this is so good. It's like somebody that cares for you trying to feed you. The land is doing this kindness to you to produce nutritious, healing plants that taste good when you make no work to make it happen. So this is the nature of life, that, as you say, Cesar, if you trust, then you can enter in to just a flowing, like a river of life, like breast milk flowing from a mother. We can eat, we can drink, we can make contact with this goodness if we trust, and we don't think that we have to force things and hurt things and harm things in order to us be okay. And every time somebody uses our ingredients, to me, they have an opportunity to tell these kind of stories about how people used to work with the land, how people used to be together and create recipes and cook together and eat together, and how food is this amazing gathering point of biology, of our own physiology, of the spirituality of community, and the act of communion when people just sit and eat together. These are the opportunities that people have to tell these stories, and instead they're wasting these opportunities. So that's for me the reason that I'm turning aside now to concentrate on just telling those stories myself to people that want to come and learn about foraging, or that just want to hear me talk, or doing the podcast. Whoever's listening, What I'd love to do is get you to tell some of the story of the restaurant and so on.
I think nowadays it became more than just a restaurant itself. I've been working in all those restaurant industry for like long. I could be in like 8 restaurants in my life. And I was feeling that there was something wrong. There was something wrong about the way people were treating food as like this Escoffier and like Ford mechanism as something every time the same, always the same size, everything on plastic, everything on vacuum bags, no seasonality, no respect for the seasons, not explaining for the young chefs what this is about, where it comes from, how it's made. So when I was in France, which was my last job as a chef, I had my hands in trouble. I was pretty much like exhausted, almost done, when I decided to go to Canterbury and just stopping cooking in the restaurant business. And I was in touch with nature and learning about life, the plants, and much more. Learning about that a restaurant is just made from people, and people is the most important thing you can have in a restaurant. People get surprised when I say that I have just 6 burners in my restaurant, 1 plancha and 1 oven. They ask me, Cesar, how you make this? I said, it's people. It's the people that make this happen. Yeah. It's not a stove. It's not an oven. So I decided to have a restaurant that nobody calls me chef. People call me by my name. Nowadays I have equal part of women's and men's in the kitchen. I had never screamed with nobody. Nobody shouts with each other. It's an open kitchen where you can see everything. And not just the people, but you're able to see what's behind the food, how we make it, where it comes from, what's our idea, what's in seasonality. So we're not just showing good food, but we show people what's around, what nature is giving to us in this moment, in this time. And we need to make good food, you know? A lot of people ask me like, you're sustainable and you don't make any waste, but the food is good. Of course it is. When you work with things on the right time, I have to say that you don't need to do much, you know. You don't need to hide the natural flavor of the things, of the ingredients. So I started the restaurant with 26 years old, with just 4 chefs. We work hard and work hard not in the restaurant, but to show people that there is a different choice when you're gonna eat. Eating can be, going out to the restaurant can be fun, can be healthy, can be nutritious, and all the time that you're spending your money is going to a chain. There is something behind. All the time you go out, you're investing money in some business, not in the restaurant, but the business that work with this restaurant. So I wanted to keep it really, I wanted to be really honest with myself, that I'm not giving money for companies that is not in balance with our planet. But this in a city of 22 million people is not easy. It's a lot of work. It's not easy to bring the fields, the farm, to the middle of the city. And Corrutela is pretty much this. It is a place between the farms and the city. So I wanted to be this, like a place between the city and the fields, a place where you go in and pretty much you forget that you're in Sao Paulo, because there is all those foods, those ingredients from the countryside. In the countryside, people are more like close to each other. You know, we look in each other's eyes. You know who is. I know this one. Hello, how are you? So not just bringing the the countryside in here, but bringing as well like the hospitality that we have in the countryside, the respect of, in big cities like London, New York, nobody knows each other. I like to say that I don't have the more crowded restaurant in the world, but I'm sure I have the best customers, and it's better to have people around you that understand your work, and they will come organically and natural. And instead of making how people make nowadays, they open a restaurant, they have a PR, and they just put as much as people inside your restaurant, doesn't matter the cost or who are those people. I think it's a big net somehow of the good producers, the good nature, with the good chefs, will come good customers. It's not easy. We're a meat country. People eat meat pretty much every day. And I try to avoid this. We're not a vegetarian restaurant. We're not a vegan restaurant. But the way we have our menu is a bit how I understand how we're supposed to be eating.
With a proportionality of meat is not the dominant thing, but it's an element.
It's an element, and it's okay if you want to eat meat, but I don't. But it's 10% of what I have in the restaurant. It has the seafood and like mussels, shrimps, and the rest is just like grains, vegetables, roots. I like to count on my menu how many diversity people are going to eat, and usually it's from 40 to 60 different species in the same night. That's something that I'm proud. It's something that not much people know about. I don't think they have the perception to see like how many things they're eating and how good is this for their body. But Miles, when we were hunter and gatherers, we used to eat hundreds of different things during the year.
Well, I've just done a bit of filming today for this online course we're doing, and I've introduced this theme. It's called the salad of many things, and so we make a salad with as many possible ingredients. Actually, I was not doing it with as many possible ingredients because I decided to leave out the coastal habitats, because most of this course is about just fields and grasslands and things like that. So we did a salad that had 46 different plant species in it, without trying too hard. It just illustrates what's possible if you make that your intention. And I must say, I've only been making those kind of salads since I really got serious about embracing diversity in my diet. And I just thought, what a really easy way to do that is to, instead of going out and picking 5 or 6 plants and making a salad, just actually spend the afternoon and see if we pick a small amount of every single plant that we find.
Yeah.
How many would that be? So it's pretty exciting because you're taking a fork full of absolute diversity with this salad.
Yeah, and one thing that is interesting, like the people, the customers, they don't know they need to eat this. So somehow I put sneaky things. Like imagine if you make like a salad with all those herbs in a restaurant, would you have to write all the names? No, just trust me, it's a salad. What's behind, if you want to know, I'm glad to say, but if I'm making this because I believe that will be good for you.
Yeah.
We can never forget that mostly of the human beings, they don't know what's good for them to eat. I know that we live between chefs and people they're like around the food scene and around foraging, around biology, around nutrition. But if you get like the mainstream of the population, especially here in Brazil, they just eat rice and beans and lettuce and tomatoes for the 12 months of the year. So how we reach those people? I think the biggest thing nowadays is how we reach the mass. They're starving. They're eating food that is like poisonous. They're eating food without nutrients, but they're stepping in food with nutrients. They're like passing by those things every day.
You see, I think the issue is that we are doing two things. We are impoverishing ourselves because of what we eat, and in doing that, we're undermining our own health because of what we're eating as much as because of what we are eating. But at the same time, the food system that supports that kind of terrible diet is destroying the land. So it's that kind of, and it's a beautiful thing, I think, to realize that, you know, us looking after ourselves well, if we looked at it like that, to begin to use many species in our food systems, that would involve us, while we take care of ourselves, beginning to take care of the land.
I believe all those companies, they know that this is not making good for the population. They know this, and it's important. They like this. It's important for you to keep on this, because you're gonna have to buy like medicines that pretty much from the same company, and who's growing will have to buy like the pesticides and the hormones to the plants, which pretty much is from the same company. So, and these companies, they control the media, and here in Brazil there is a study that 80% of the whole population here is based their ideas, their beliefs on the mainstream media. And the mainstream media don't want you to be healthy. They want you to be like foraging and eating healthy, and they want you to support this chain of money and power. So it's important for us to go out and talk and show people a different perspective. It's not about just food. It's not about just like the lands. It's not just about the healthy. It's about the whole system somehow. Those days I was like thinking with myself, man, I just wanted to cook. I just wanted to cook good food. But it's impossible to not worry about what's going on. It's impossible to not watch our neighbors, how people around us are living and eating and investing money in this chain that is maybe not the right one. It needs to exist somehow, but it needs to be a balance. And this balance will just happen when we start to talk, when people start to look for informations outside the mainstream. And that's why podcasts are so important, YouTube channels, people going out and trying to reach other people with their ideas, because we don't have space to talk about those things on big newspapers, on TV, and you know, it needs to be us.
But at the same time, these media are really important. But I think something like when we actually do something and we actually embody something in our activities. So, you know, I'm very, proud to know of the example that you've set out there in Sao Paulo, because I think it's very unique. So the story about you setting up these supply chains for Sao Paulo, that's something I'd love you to talk about, because I'd like people to know about that, because I think that's something that is broadcasting ideas. But anyway, you should say what it is that I'm referring to there. Your great went on to find these suppliers for the organic grains and so on for the restaurant.
Oh, yes. Well, Brazil is a place that grows a lot of things for exportation, and the good things doesn't stay in the country. So when I come back to open my restaurant, there wasn't grains available for the population to buy, organic grains straight from the farmer. And we had the farmers. We had pretty much everything, but we were just selling to countries in Europe and buying back with euro with a different price. So it didn't make much sense. I had a bad thing in the restaurant. The construction stopped for 9 months, but I tried to don't see this as a bad thing. I had time to visit farmers and try to bring to Sao Paulo, not just for me, because not worth if it's just Cesar that is using this in my only restaurant. I want to go out and eat safe food as well. I like to go out. I like to see the restaurants using organic. This is not a challenge of nobody with nobody. There is nothing wrong with this. So I start to knock on other restaurants and bakeries and small markets. And I said to the grain farmers, like, if I get enough people, let's start to send this to Sao Paulo in small. And it started 3 years ago from now. It's been quite a long time. And it started, and it was just like everybody was in, start to sell for people in small markets, other restaurants starts to buy. I spent about 6 months, 8 months with them for making this happen, and that's it.
Yeah, so you've basically set up a supply chain that's made a link. It's a wonderful link. There you are in Sao Paulo with this kind of hub of people that are feeding people in restaurants and bakeries, sending stuff out, and they're out in the rural areas. You've got people growing all of these organic grains, and it's flying halfway around the world. But what you've done is you've made a link between the two, and now it's staying there. It's staying there in Brazil, and presumably the farmers are getting a better price. Is that true? They're getting a better
That's
price.
true. They get a better price, and they start to feel more proud about their doing. Nobody knew it, that this exists. They used just to grow wheat and put in a truck, selling to someone that they have no idea who is it. No feedbacks, no nothing. So more about the price. We give them valuable. Yeah. We have shown to the country that there is people behind this, not big trucks that will get 2,000 kilos in 1 hour. It's really humans behind. There's a plant behind. People forget this. We say a lot of the meat that people know. Say that modern people nowadays, they think the milk comes in a jar, but it's even worse. They don't know how a wheat grows. They don't know the taste of the wheat. They don't know the taste of the corn. It's all processed food. And since we have a stone mill here in the restaurant, we grind the grains. People eat and they have the sensation of, I have eaten bread all my life and there was no taste of wheat, or I had like a cornmeal bread or a polenta and didn't taste like corn. Yeah. So it's a way to show people that the real ingredient needs to be like straight from the farmer, should not walk around all the country, not being storage for months, and it's great. It's great. I'm learning a lot, and the more I do, the more energy I have to keep on this quest.
And also, you when I was with you at your restaurant, you showed me the source for all of your. You're making your own chocolate.
Yeah, we make chocolate bean to bar.
We've touched upon the farmer getting a better deal with respect to those grains, but the thing that stuck in my mind about the chocolate was that you're getting far better beans than you would be getting if you hadn't gone direct to the producer, and yet you're getting them cheaper than you were paying for a wholesale price before.
That's true.
Direct to the supplier. Yeah.
Chocolate in here you're gonna pay a good chocolate about 180, and we buy the cocoa beans for 30. We make ourselves. There is no plastic in the process. We pay the money straight to the one that is growing the cocoa beans, and that's beautiful. And that's beautiful. It's a beautiful process. It's just two ingredients, cocoa is not the same people forget this. We forget how chocolate is supposed to taste like, because I have an interesting thing. I was giving class for children's, was like on the favelas and really like poor children's, and all their life they have only eaten milky chocolate that's supposed to have about 4% of cocoa, 6%. The rest is sugar, and when they try my chocolate, they didn't like it because they used to a flavor of chocolate that tastes like sugar.
Yeah.
Not a chocolate that tastes like cocoa. So that's incredible. You see the reaction of the children, especially children, they're supposed to learn on the school what is good food is about, makes all the difference for their life, for their studies, to eat well, to have all the nutrients that they're supposed to have.
Yeah.
And the industry sells for us that, a chocolate bar, you have 12 different vitamins. Come on. You're not supposed to have your vitamins from a chocolate bar. You're supposed to have your vitamins from the real food.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why, they try to show that everything will give you some nutrients. They have to write this, but the real food, that there is nutrients. That there's don't have to have nothing written there. You just know.
Well, it's a real problem when you're talking about them supplementing things. They're putting extra stuff in that's not naturally in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a real problem with that, which I need. This chap who I pretty much mention every week because his stuff is so influential for my thinking about food. But this guy Fred Provenza, who studied the behavior of grazing animals and so on, and he's always talking about the wisdom of the body, and that if we eat the food that's out there in all its diversity, our body will learn which foods have which things in them, and we will just know what to eat based on what our body actually needs. But he says it's a real problem that people are putting these supplements like fortified flour, breakfast cereals with added this and added that, and the example that you've just given, because it confuses the body. Instead of having the food that nutrient actually naturally occurs in, so then when we need it, we have an appetite for it. Often
And what pissed me up is that when you get Ayurveda in India like 5,000 years ago, people knew it. 5,000 years ago, they have a way to understand what is good for you to eat, what makes good for you. They had this a perception of eating local and good fruits, the seasonality. So we are underlearning somehow.
Well, we're underlearning because somebody's got a different project. That project was a project to make things well. The local food system is a project to make things well. But this is a project, the global food system as it stands now, is to make massive profits for global corporations. And it's heading in entirely the different direction. It doesn't need to make anything well. It just needs to make money.
I believe if things keeps like this, we're gonna lose a great percentage of the population with health diseases from food and pesticides. The one who will last in this planet will be the people who can afford or have the knowledge, which is different things. If you can afford, you need money. If you have the knowledge, you just need the knowledge to eat well. So I think in the future, there will be two kinds of people, the one who eat real food and the rest that doesn't eat real food. This is already happening in the front of our eyes. So yeah, I think a big quest of life for people like you, like me, is to pass forward the knowledge, and people will have a safer life in the future. It's not about the ingredients; it's about a safe future.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I keep seeing it is in terms of we've got to reweave the fabric, whether it's like the fabric of life with relationships to other species and landscapes, or the social and cultural fabric, which is relationships between ourselves and other people and communities and between communities and so on. And I think I've been thinking about how there is something opposite to that that's happening at the moment. There are links between people and other things, but they're not bonds. They're like chains, they're like strings that a puppet gets pulled.
Yeah.
So I've thought of this way of saying is we need to move from bondage, which is what that is. We need to move from that linkage, which is bondage, back to bonds. It sounds the same, like bondage, bonds, but it's actually the complete opposite, because it's relationships of slavery. People are addicted to sugar. People are addicted to money and power. In fact, people are addicted to this instant gratification that comes through. And in fact, that instant gratification is very interesting. It's actually linked to a chemical in your brain. I mean, I'm sure you know of this, but dopamine is the thing you get when you have an instant gratification, when you have a quick fix, a quick thrill, cheap thrill, and a reward. So when we eat junk food, we're getting that dopamine hit. When we get likes on Facebook, we're getting that dopamine hit. When we think that everybody thinks we're the best or something like that, so our public image is suddenly inflated and everybody thinks we're the best thing now. We get that dopamine hit, But there's another neurotransmitter called serotonin, which is much more sort of slow and steady, When you just stick at things, when you have a long-term relationship with someone where they're there for you, they're loyal to you, when you have activities that you do every day, like chopping onions, or opening up the restaurant, all this slow and steady stuff, it just makes you feel settled and safe, but it's not a quick fix. It's not like a dopamine hit, And the thing is, I think those, what I'm learning to understand is all of that bondage that we have, about money, power, I don't know, and all the junk food that we eat and every other kind of addictive thing. That bondage is all linked to this kind of dopamine activity. But the bonds, which we slowly and steadily build with other people, and I think we're getting back to with these traditional foods and these traditional ways of harvesting and gathering, because the thing is, you don't just need the knowledge of the foods, Cesar. You need knowledge of other people. You would never be able to get those that beautiful chocolate that you're making if you didn't have the relationships with the people that are producing it. The same with the organic grains. So, yeah, I just think we've got to cut those cords. We've got to cut those chains, as it were, and begin to gradually nurture the life-giving links that always used to be there, and could be there again. I think that's what we're doing, really. That's
it's really, really important for all the food industry. If there's some other chefs listening to me, care about people, care about the nutrients, care about the land, care about yourself. There is no reason if you feed in other people, you don't feed yourself well and you feed other people. That's wrong. Yeah. How many chefs that they pretty much don't eat? Chefs need to eat well, need to take care of themselves, to have time for family. Yeah. Otherwise, there is no message to pass.
I think it's love. It's love as a microcosm and love as a macrocosm. We start here with this little bit, our own body that we take care of, and our own, need to feel rested and feel like we belong and feel like that we have some kind of value, because then we can just expand that out we can then treat the next one in the same way as we're treating ourselves, and perhaps, end up with that being exponential. We reproduce a community and a whole world that's actually looking to take care of everything.
Yeah. First, change yourself. When you're good, you start to act on the others. It's not the opposite way, which is what most of the people do. But yeah.
And changing yourself, being caring for yourself. I think when we're up against so many problems now, and we want to change the world, it's difficult to see that as the starting point. That you take care of yourself, and I I worry that running a busy restaurant like you do, that's a hard thing to do. But I hope you are taking care of yourself, mate.
I had to stop in the middle of the restaurant and look at myself. I'm giving healthy, nutritious people for everybody, and I'm not eating proper. Something's wrong.
Yeah,
something's wrong. And that's what I have in my mind. How can I feed others if I'm not proper eating myself? Not eating with my friends. My friends are not eating my girlfriend. Who is around. So in the end, it's all about love, no?
It is. You're growing, man. You seem stronger, wiser, older. Of course, you're older, but
yeah, still with 28. But I'm happy with the way that I'm taking. Yeah. And a lot of this comes from you, and you the first that started this points of view with me, and forever grateful for all the talkings and the praying we did together. You give me virtues and values, much more than just. It wasn't a stage about nature in the end, about ingredients, wasn't. And lucky for the ones that can see that foraging is not about nature, it's about the way you see the world. And this human developed that you helped me in such a hard time of my life. Lonely and far from everything that I know, and there I found something that, it's my first start to see the world in a different way.
Wow. Yeah, it's very, very good to see you grow, man. Good to see you moving into the fullness of what you are. It's really, really good.
Yeah, we need to come back to our essence. And I feel I have the power to talk with this new generation here.
Yeah.
So I need to be wisdom to talk with them.
It's your job, man. That's definitely your job.
I need to have a lot of wisdom and patience, and to expose myself in a good way, always. And small steps.
You go and do what you need to do.
Thanks a lot. So happy to see you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye, Myers.
So thanks once again for joining us. And I will just say a little bit about what I'm up to in the next little while, just in case you're UK-based or going to be in the UK. I'm running a couple of fermentation courses in February. So you can go to our website, forager.org.uk, and click on the courses tab there to find out about that. And I've also released an online course through an organization called Learning with Experts. Now, we'll put a link at the bottom of this podcast for that, because that's actually relevant globally. We've tried to make the course something that looks at some fairly universal species like plantain, which you may well have grown near your house. You're likely to have grown near your house wherever you are in the world listening to this podcast, which I kind of find quite a fun idea. And the hope is that we find some people that want to learn more about the plants in all the continents of the world. That would be kind of fun, and there'll be a sort of group learning aspect where people get to interact in the course of that. Okay, well, that's it for this week's World Wild podcast.